Greetings, everyone. We will be presenting a paper titled Is Sustainable Tourism Development Important for Emerging Economy? A study in Malaysia on factors affecting locals' attitudes. Before I start the presentations, allow me to introduce myself. This is Dr. Teo Po Jins from Azman Hashim International Business School, University Technology Malaysia. Together with me, there are two co-authors, my colleagues, Dr. Teresa Ho Cha-Fei, as well as Assistant Professor Dr. Chu Ling Suan from University of Bahrain, Kingdom of Bahrain. I will give an overview about the paper that I'm going to present today. Ranked as the 8th largest industry in the world by employment, the tourism industry has badly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemics, whereby the pandemic has caused the global tourism industries USD 935 billions. Many countries are moving towards the endemic phase, including Malaysia, and they are opening the country border again to the global travelers. This studies aims to examine the attitude of Malaysians towards the country's tourism developments, whereby the influence of perceived sustainable local community developments, specifically on economics, environmental, as well as social impacts will be examined. Based on the data collected from a total of 210 survey responses using purposive samplings, economic factors as well as environmental factors have shown significant positive influence on the attitude of the locals. Implications to policymakers, researchers, and market practitioners have also been discussed in this study. This paper ends with discussions on research limitations and recommendations for future researchers. Next, I will give introduction about the background of the study. Tourism has become the leading in service industry and also the largest industry in the world, and it has been recognized as one of the most significant service industry nowadays. Due to the research, Malaysia has represented rapid growth in foreign tourist arrivals, which stated as total increasing from 7.13 million in 1996 to 26.1 million international travelers in 2020, whereby the tourist receipts has recorded Malaysia ringgits 86.14 million in 2019, as compared to Malaysia ringgits 1.1 million in 1981. Malaysian governments are encouraging tourism development in order to enhance country's economic performance and been giving priority in protect the environments and minimize the negative impacts of it. The tourism industry made a large contributions on both microeconomics as well as macroeconomics levels of the country. For the economics levels, tourism has contributed in earnings, foreign exchange, revenue generations, balance of payments, creating job opportunity, and enhance its gross domestic production, GDP. While for the community involvement, tourism provides benefits, of job creations, whereby including people's well-beings, income distributions, and sustainable regional developments. Tourism industries are the mentionable high-profit industry, which can help the backward in that country to grow and expand rapidly. According to the data resulting in 2005, over 40% of the balance of payment are contributed by tourism industry, and it becomes the main foreign exchange earners of the country. In 2006, tourism industry contribute as second largest foreign exchange earning sectors. It occupies over 10% of the total export of Malaysia in that year and generated over 18.1 USD of export revenues. Besides, it also represents over 16% of employment rate in the country. Therefore, it is crucial to research on the sustainable development of tourism industry to the country. Justification of research. These studies examines the perceptions of residents towards the sustainable local community developments brought by the tourism industry in Malaysia. The factors considering that may influence public perceptions towards the sustainable local community developments in Malaysia included economics, environmental, social, and demographic factors. The perceptions of local residents is vitally important on the development of tourism in Malaysia because this may impact on their attitudes towards the tourists that travel in the country, which subsequently will affect the sustainable development of the tourism industry of the country. Researchers conducted a research that shows local residents' perceptions towards development of tourism may impact by the costs and benefits they perceive. This means that when they perceive benefits exceeds costs, the residents may be more supportive on the development of the industry. Conversely, if the cost exceeds the benefits, they tend to be more negative towards the development of the industry. Besides, some residents believe that although they do not gain the benefits directly from tourism development, but the benefits is shared to the social and the societies and countries' economics, so that they will also perform positive attitudes towards the tourists. Once the residents performs positive attitudes, this may increase tourist experience satisfactions and may lead to rapid growth in tourism industry in the country. The cost of the tourism developments included the impact of tourism developments toward the country economics, environments, and social perspective, which may cause changing perceptions of residents on development of tourism in their country. Okay. Next, I will talk about the research objective. The research objective of this study is to examine the perceptions of local residents on sustainable local community developments towards their attitude toward on the tourism industries. To be specific, their perceptions on sustainable local community developments was examined from 3 dimensions, namely economics, environments, and social impacts, in order to provide richer understanding to academic researchers, policymakers, and industry practitioners. Next, I will move on to literature review. Brahms et al. 2004 refers residents as a group of individuals living and working within the same geographics of residence, and is crucial to understand how community developments and improve tourism developments. According to the 12th Malaysia Plan and National Tourism Policy 2020 to 2030, published by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture Malaysia, the future of Malaysia, which are considered community developments. Tourism needs support by the local community, and this is necessary to ensure the economic sustainability, physiological, political, social, cultural, and commercials of the industry. Therefore, I have proposed these research models whereby perceptions on sustainable local community developments show positive impacts on local residents' attitudes towards the country's tourism industry developments. Okay, whereby I will look at the sub dimensions of the perceptions variables in which we have examined economics, environmental, and social impacts. Okay, I will first explain on perceptions on sustainable local community developments on local residents' attitudes. When positive attitude and perceptions of residents are essential for encouraging visitor satisfactions and repeat visits in the future, Butler indicates that the level of tourism development influence residents' attitudes. Most of the theories and researchers have stated the need to investigate the relationship between the perceived or objective measures of economics, social, and environmental impacts towards the host community, and between the level of tourism developments. The impact of tourism developments and local perceptions is positive and favorable. For example, when concerning the economic impacts, that will reflect a clearly positive opinions of the benefits that tourism towards the local residents. Residents' attitudes towards the tourism development will be more positive if the community or local residents depends on the tourist dollar. In other words, if the family members, friends, or neighbors depends on tourism-based employments. Therefore, we posited a positive relationship between perceptions on sustainable local community developments, including its subdimensions, economics, environmental, and social impacts, has significant positive influence on local residents' attitudes. Due to the time constraints, I will not explain further on the theories, the literature that backs the subdimensions of the perceptions on local residents' attitudes. And next, I will move on the presentation to methodology. This is a casual study, which is also known as explanatory research, that aims to determine the extent and nature of cultural relationships. In this cross-sectional study, quantitative methods was adopted to address the research objective, as this research approach allows in-depth and further exploration and inquiry of respondents based on their responses. This study examined the impact of perceptions on developments from the perspective of economics, environments, and social impacts towards local residents' attitudes in the Malaysia context. Quantitative research methods have been widely circulated in tourism research. The target samples of this study was Malaysians aged 18 years old and above, and the target sample size was 200 respondents. Purposive sampling was employed. The data collection method of this study was self-administered survey, whereby online questionnaire was developed and distributed to collect data. The use of online survey is of data gatherings, minimal cost, increase the response rate, and flexibility of design. From this study, there are collections of data through online via Google Form. The survey form was divided into two sections, which is by the section A, right, or section 1 will captures the data on the key variables of the study, while section 2 was designed to gather social demographic information of respondents. Following, I will discuss on the key findings. First, descriptive was performed, and the result shows that the majority of the respondents were females, 54.3%, age 15 to 200 years old, which is constitute to 86.7%, and with education qualification of diploma and below, 50.5%. Next, reliability analysis were performed to measure the stability and consistencies of a particular elements over a period of times between the question of each measures. A proportion is defined as reliable when it offers a consistent result after repeating measurement is made, and the most common way to measure the reliability is using Cronbach alpha. The Cronbach alpha value for attitudes, perceptions, economic impact, environmental impacts, and social impacts was 0.816, 0.806, 0.818, 0.872, and 0.804 accordingly, which indicating a good associations. Based on the rules of thumbs, the overall result of Cronbach alpha value is above 0.7. Therefore, this implies that the measurement scale of constructs in this research was stable and consistent. Followingly, validity analysis was also carried out to measure the degree of which differentiates between the observed scale score and the characteristic of object that being measured. The output analysis revealed that the value of Kaiser-Meyer-Oakins KMO was 0.895, which is more than the 0.5 cutoff points. And the ballot test result showing the value of is also significant at 0.00. Therefore, it implies that the measurement skills was highly valid. Subsequently, the value of variance inflation factors, VIF, was more than 5.0, and the range of tolerance values was between 0.45 to 0.687. The findings indicated that the factor of multicollinearity was significant in this survey. The independence assumptions refers on the multicollinearities analysis. Followingly, multiple regression analysis was performed to test the relationship between the key variables, whereby we test the impacts on the perception on locals' residents' attitudes. The result shows no significant impacts on perceptions on developments, and social impacts show no significant impacts on locals' residents' attitudes, and therefore H1 and H1C were rejected. Interestingly, both economics and environment impacts presented a significant positive impacts on local residents' attitudes, whereby the t-values for economics was 8.524, significant at 0.000, and the t-value for environmental impact was 3.434, significant at 0.001. To conclude, this research examined the influence of perceptions on sustainable local community developments on local residents' attitudes, where specific attention was given in exploring the economics, environmental, and social impacts on developments. The reason being of studying the attitude of the locals was local residents can help their community to ensure that the benefits that can achieve from tourism developments. From the perceptions on sustainable local community developments, the local residents promote the positive perceptions will affected by the tourism developments, and most of the tourism literatures suggest that the tourism impacts are based on the benefits can generate from the tourisms. Then, even though the local residents did not perceive significant gains of the benefits from social development perspective, but they still receiving economics and environmental gains. The research findings of this study also shed light to both policymakers and market practitioners, whereby when they wish to gain greater support from local community in developing the tourism industry, they could strengthen the social benefits brought by the tourism industry to the local community while promoting the associated economics and environmental impacts. Therefore, the policymakers and industry players are suggested to work closely in exploring the social impacts resulted by a blooming tourism industry and carefully design it in the marketing campaigns and communicate it in effective ways to local community. Future researchers are encouraged to replicate this study in different country settings, or preferably conduct cross-country studies with a bigger sample size to enhance the generalizability of their research results. Besides, future researchers are also recommended to introduce and examine the moderating roles of psychographic characteristics such as environmental consciousness and world-mindedness in this research context in order to generate richer research findings. Apart from that, it would also be more contributing if future researchers could research the role of culture in influencing the attitude of local residents. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to end my presentations.